All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Billy Liucci.
And I'm Amanda Atwell.
And maybe neither one of us, but I think the people in Norman are...
They're moving their goalposts back across the Red River right now without a hat, so good for them.
So you know what, Amanda? This is a first, and I think we both had a lot of reason to enjoy some of this weekend, correct?
Yes, we rolled through, not just me, as a group, rolled through 2 bottles of that yesterday.
All right, perfect.
Think I'm going to need a restock on the Blanco. It was a hit at the tailgate. But La Casa was had before. I think there were shots being poured at 9 a.m.
Oh, wow. That's
quite a long day yesterday.
The Aggies had a long day because they started, I think kickoff was at 6 this week. So that was you leaving Kyle Field about 10:30. Last night, and I think people just kept the La Casa train going. So shout out Drake and the crew. Give it a try. I promise you'll love it. La Casa Tequila. Amanda, a first for us on this podcast, I think.
Of us both being happy after?
Well, both being like legitimately happy. We've had a couple.
After an SEC win. Both having an SEC win.
There you go. Both teams with an SEC win in the same weekend. A&M keeps the train rolling along, 6-0 now. They swept the homestand with a big win over Florida, which was,
That's a big one.
It was,
They have more players out than they did against Texas, because I looked at their injury report beforehand, and it was hefty.
Here we go.
This is a genuine question. I'm not trying to clown you. I just didn't know if more of them got hurt over the last
I would guess yes, but I don't even know. But I also know that, A&M had a big one in game. We'll talk about that later when Moss went down. I think he had 5 carries for almost 50 yards when he left the game hurt. I thought that was kept A&M from really rolling, which they rolled 34-17 over Florida. And then the big one in Dallas this weekend, and it is a Red River beatdown for the 3rd time in 4 years for you guys, or is it 4 out of 5? It's 3 out of 4 under Venables.
3 out of 4.
Yeah,
3 out of over Venables. Venables is, I think it's 1-3 against us. Yep.
Venables with a pretty pitiful effort. For the 3rd time in 4 years? It's not like he's just losing either.
It's not just small losses. And to put it into perspective, Texas shouldn't have lost the one that was a last minute, kind of one of those Red Rivers where the momentum just flipped and went with OU at the last minute. And it was a game Texas shouldn't have lost, but happens in those kinds of environments year in and year out. But it has not happened 3 of the last 4 years. And you never an OU fan would never, will like to tell you that OU owns Texas in this series. They'll pick a convenient time frame for them on the recent domination of this series, but in the last 4 years, that has not been the case at all.
I think the reality, what Oklahoma would say, is that Bob Stoops owned it, and that feels like a distant memory. Lincoln Riley had a nice run and then left them, right? Mm-hmm. I'm excited to talk about both these games, and I know the fans on both sides have legitimate reason to be feeling good today as we enter another week of SEC play. We'll dive into all that, but let's start this week with Texas and OU, just for the simple fact that is, 2 years in as an SEC rivalry. It is one of the, I think Texas, one thing I always said when they came in, A&M finally got back a legitimate rival in this league, and Texas versus A&M and Texas versus Oklahoma are 2 of the, I think, 3 biggest rivalries in this conference. People will say Egg Bowl. People will say Cocktail Party. People will say Tennessee-Bama. It's the Iron Bowl. It's Red River. It's Aggies and Longhorns.
And I think you go to this game, and a lot of people, obviously, if you aren't a fan of either of the teams, have never been to this game.
Yeah.
No, one of our friends, Chris Phillips, went to it for the first time and said it was the best environment he has ever been in.
He says that every week, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, this is not as far as rivalry games. I don't think he goes
Yeah,
to a rivalry game every week, but it's
it
one of the
is.
few times you will find people saying this needs to be a neutral site game, and it
Yep.
needs to be a neutral site game at the Cotton Bowl. The Cotton Bowl is awful as far as stadium structure. I can send you pictures of the blob of people that I was fighting through to get to my seats, getting there just because it's so poorly constructed. But at the end of the day, I would never want it moved to Jerry World
No.
because you just get in that stadium, you see the split at the 50-yard line. The team runs out, one team runs out of the tunnel with boos around them, and then it just turns into cheers as you get across the 50. And it's just an insane environment like no other. And obviously there's no love lost between these two teams either. It's a crazy environment.
Did you manage, you and your group, to avoid any confrontations, conflict? Did you stay with your own kind, or did
Yeah,
you?
I mean, we were on the Texas side, so it was pretty clean. Like it was fine the time that we were on the Texas side. I will say when we were leaving the fair, we had to walk a little bit out of the fairgrounds to get
Yeah.
an Uber that wasn't $70. And there are these OU fans that were getting into a car. We were waiting for our Uber, and there was a car that had pulled over waiting for their riders. And these OU fans walked up, and we're just minding our own business, don't say anything. And then one of them says like, stupid T-sips or something as they get into the car and shut the door. And I was like, and we yelled some expletives at them at that point. I think I put a nice little L through their window and as they
I
drove away. But that was about the only bad interaction. I'm like, if that's all they can say after a game, then feel sorry for you. And just have to feel sorry you have to drive back to Oklahoma at the end of the day as well. So
that's a long drive after that, after taking that L, right? To head north and look, I want to dive into OU in a second because that was a lot of buildup for the Sooners. There was a lot of shit talking throughout the offseason. There was a lot of hype, not just by the folks in Norman, but around the SEC and around college
we can say a lot
football.
about the Manning hype, but the Mateer hype has also, equal. Manning hype has been further along. Obviously, you can't really compete with it with his last name.
Yeah.
But the Mateer hype out of Norman and the hype over their transfer running back, Jaden Ott, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
Insane, just insane level of hype. And I don't know if you saw a play where Jaden Ott was literally scared of blocking.
Yeah, he avoided the block. Yeah, that was
avoided
pitiful.
the block.
I would bench a guy for like a whole week after they did that.
Yeah.
There's a reason he doesn't play a lot.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
how much money did they spend on him?
yeah, and the Mateer hype is what's really interesting, Amanda, because that was built off of, this is really what it was built off of. What he did against unranked, the worst teams that Washington State played. And then what he did in a lot of games that didn't matter for OU. I said before, I thought he wasn't great against Auburn, and everybody vaulted him. They vaulted him to like number one in the Heisman race, which, you might have had some lunatics putting Arch there during the offseason, but people watched this OU team play, and they vaulted him to number one, and it was due in large part to how he played against Michigan. And one thing I consistently said after that game, John Mateer threw a pick in that game. He was very lucky he didn't throw three. Yeah. Michigan dropped at least two, and my memory is not, I didn't watch that game closely, but I know they dropped two.
And guess who doesn't drop those picks?
Muhammad.
A defense like Texas.
Yeah, Manny Muhammad did not.
You saw that very, very clearly. This is the first time he's played a very, very competent defense, which Texas defense did not look competent last week. Like I said, I did not think that defense would play bad 2 weeks in a row. They fixed what they needed to fix, and it was a crazy defensive performance. But yeah, I think just the biggest thing with the Mateer hype is that, just look at the teams OU has played. Look at the games they have won.
And look at Michigan now, by the way.
Look at Michigan now. Look at Auburn. These haven't been amazing wins, and just the hype was overblown for Mateer. And then also just the whole gamesmanship coming into this game of, is Mateer going to play? Is he not going to play? I am, for one, thrilled he played because, and I don't know if you saw Sark's post-game press conference where he was like, I'm so glad he played because I didn't want to have to come up on this podium and say and answer the questions of, do you think you won because Mateer didn't play? But of course now OU fans are saying he should have sat. They should have played Hawkins. Something's wrong with John Mateer. I'm like, no, John Mateer just discovered what a real SEC defense looks like.
You're right. You're spot on. And by the way, like I said, I don't think he looked great against Auburn, who they're not an elite SEC.
They should have lost that game.
Yeah.
They should have lost that game.
They really actually should have lost. And then, look, the thing about Mateer and this, you not only played a real defense for the first time, but the one thing I consistently said too is not only like what you're talking about, like, hey, he's going to face something he hasn't seen yet, but let's say the hand was healthy enough to play, and it looked like it. He made some really nice throws. He was throwing tight spirals. He was running
deep balls just to the wrong team.
Yeah, exactly. and he was running the ball. He wasn't scared to run it. So, like, forget all that. The thing that I said going into the game, how much practice did he actually have in 3 weeks? I know he returned this week.
They were hiding inside the facility because the weather was so too warm.
Yeah.
The weather was 85. Do you know how hot it was in the Cotton Bowl?
It was ridiculous. So
90.
So to me, I think at the end of the day, Mateer is what he is. I think he's a gamer. I think he's competitive as hell. I think he's a tough running threat, and he will throw some beautiful balls in the course of a 4-quarter football game. But I do not think he's enough to, A, be a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback there, Norman, and B, to do it by himself. I don't think Oklahoma has the weapons. I mean, hell, Amanda, you watched it.
I thought they vaulted them to number 6, and I had not seen anything. I mean, I was pretty quiet on it because I didn't. You know how Sooners are.
Yep.
How I can deal with a lot of Aggies. They're not quite as psychotic as the Sooners on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so I was quiet about it, but I did not see a reason for why OU had been vaulted that high based on their wins. And I think that was pretty easily exposed yesterday as to how drastically overrated they have become.
Well, and look at it like this. I'm going to ask you this. You watched your team play the last 2 weeks, and I watched this team we're going to talk about in a minute. Who's got the better offensive line, OU or Florida? It's not even close. I'll answer that for you. Who's got more weapons at wide receiver?
Easy.
Yeah, Dallas Wilson and company. Who's got a better running back?
Does OU
question.
have a running back?
Exactly.
Does OU have a running back?
So for Mateer, I'm sitting here going, Florida's at 2-4 right now, and Lagway's struggling with that. They've got a much more talented setup right now around him than Mateer does in Norman. So I think this is the start, Amanda, of a real fall off for.
I mean, look at the rest of OU's schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, also, I was going to point out, too, I think you probably remember I said this. I've been saying this for a couple weeks. If I had to pick between OU's offensive tools and quarterback or A&M's offensive tools and quarterback, give me Marcel Reed and his tools all day.
All right. Well, Amanda, I think our friends in Norman are in for a rough run of it when you look at their upcoming schedule. I don't know exact order, but I know they've got Missouri. They're at South Carolina this weekend, which is so much tougher over there than the Gamecocks are on the road. They've got Alabama. They've got LSU. Their path is pretty brutal, and they've got Tennessee.
I gotta be real. I think they're cooked.
I do too.
I mean, I don't see a path for them.
No,
getting out of this season with less than 4 losses.
Well, Amanda, they needed that game in the worst way, and they didn't realize it. Your Longhorns needed that game in the worst way, and you did realize it. And they played like it. The defense played like it.
Backs against the wall. Like, I mean, the 2 things or the 3 things that really needed to happen happened. 1, the defense went back to playing how the defense plays. 2, the O-line did just enough. They did still not a great O-line. They did what they needed to do to be able to get some successful offensive plays moving. And then also 3, the run game got started again. Wisner's was very, very deeply needed against Florida. And in this game, I can't remember what the date was back to, but most of the time, the winner of this game is the winner of the run game battle.
Yeah, I saw that.
Texas won the one run game battle this game, and Wisner did a fantastic. I don't know if you saw, Arch gave him the game ball after the game just because of how he ran like a man. He put a body to the wall at a bunch of different points. So if Texas can continue just building on that type of offensive performance, I think there's a good chance we could see more of the Texas team that a lot of people thought you were going to see. I don't think this is going to be an elite offense by the end of the season. I think it's still going to be too young. I do think that they could probably get to A&M without losing another football game, but I don't know if I'm ready to make that decision quite yet. I'm just going to live on this high for a little bit.
It is interesting, though, that you do have to recalibrate your expectations after every game. I mean, look at Florida a week ago till now. Look, a week ago, 48 hours ago, everybody in Gainesville, Florida, were going crazy. They're going nuts about, they beat Texas. They came off a bye week. They got Dallas Walker back. This is what the offense could look like. Defense, yada, yada. Now look today. Now they're looking at the schedule going, I don't see how Billy Napier can make it. You look at Texas and OU and how each of those fan bases felt, outside of hope and optimism aside, how they felt about their specific situations last Sunday versus this Sunday. So, yeah, I do think it's fair to look at the Texas schedule and ask yourself, can they go on a winning streak here? And what's in the way of that? So there's Arkansas at home. There's this week's game at Kentucky. Those are 2 of the
Vanderbilt.
There's Vandy. That's the one, Amanda, that stands out to me.
Vanderbilt is at home for Texas, which I think will be beneficial. Going on the road to Athens, not going to be easy.
Yeah. That's the one. I think that's the one that, even though they struggled against Auburn a lot, that's the big circle roadblock. And I think you've got 2 tricky tests in there. It's Diego Pavia and Vandy. And then the one that I'm putting a little circle around, and you could come back and hold me to this if you guys go down there and stomp them, at Mississippi State, just because of the environment. And that's one of those teams, kind of like Florida, that's just right now and where they're at as a team is so much better at home than they are away. So, but I'm with you. That was a big win. You talked about it a week ago, right? You and I got into it pretty good, both on the show and not, about Arch Manning's performance at Florida. What did it mean, if anything? He looked better, but what was that? What I pushed back on that, right? Certainly pushed back, because my thought was there was too much being made about the offensive line being so bad and about the lack of running game. And I thought
you go back and watch that offensive line from Florida. They basically were just ghosts in the left tackle guard position. Like the bust through on the plays every single time was coming from the left side. Arch was running for his life. And yes, he threw 2 interceptions, but I think a lot of that's just because of just the stress of running for your life every single play. And that's not an excuse. He should have thrown the ball away. He should have made a better read, something like that. But I think you saw much better protection this game. Steve Sarkisian said that in the press conference after the day after the Florida game that he thought he could fix everything before the OU game. I did not believe him.
Yeah.
And did he fix everything perfectly? I don't think so. I think that O-line can still use some work, but like I said, this was never going to be a team that won on scoring a lot of points. I mean, there were only 2 touchdowns yesterday. Only 2 touchdowns. The rest were field goals. Or a couple missed field goals too. But they didn't need a bunch of points to win that game when you have a defense that shows up and looks like that. you don't need a bunch of touchdowns to win a game. So that was my whole point with Florida too. If that defense had showed up against Florida, probably would have only needed 22 points to win the game, but that wasn't the case. So my biggest disappointment from Florida was probably the defense, because we kind of expected this with the offense at this point of just not really struggling. They're struggling to fire on all cylinders, not really having the full package together at the O-line. But when you have that defense intact and they're playing the way they're supposed to play, this is the kind of result you get.
I think the lesson, if you're a future Texas opponent, you better be physical. And Florida got physical with your defense and had some success.
Florida called all the right calls.
Yeah.
They game planned.
And OU was incapable. OU is incapable of doing that. So if I'm looking for teams that could have some success, whatever that looks like, against the Texas defense moving forward, I would start circling the most physical teams left on the schedule, because Ohio State could do that to an extent. I mean, they can do it, but Texas held up really well against them, but they had enough success. Florida had enough success. Oklahoma had no chance. And I think part of it too, Amanda, you're an athlete, right? Last week was a wake-up call. Last week was embarrassing for that defense. They said they'd had enough. So that's a big win for the Horns. I think it totally changes, in my opinion, their outlook for the season.
No longer a Penn State or a Clemson situation. There's hope. There's a little hope left, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Just gotta keep it on.
Like you said, it's a first step. The schedule helps them though this week too. I think it's important when you have a win look at Florida. You had a win like they had over Texas. Oops, we got to go to Kyle Field at night against the top 5 team. You look at Texas. This is not a weak schedule assault, so please do not get defensive. It is a fact, and if I'm a Longhorn fan, I'm happy about it. You just had a very emotional rivalry win, and you're going on the road to play arguably the worst team in the league. It is a confidence-building setup. It is a way to continue to get better in the middle of the season. And then from there, it gets obviously exponentially tougher.
Yeah, then you got Mississippi State on the road, Vanderbilt at home, Georgia on the road, Arkansas at home, and then
maybe not exponentially tougher, but tougher.
Closing out with A&M at home. Yeah, super easy, especially that last game of the season.
Oh, God. I swear to God.
Just kidding.
I know you are.
Obviously just kidding, because there's nothing easy about Texas A&M right now.
I was about to say, and speaking of defenses and physicality and the Florida Gators that we've talked a lot about.
My biggest question mark for Texas A&M was their run defense, and it seems like Elko's done a great job of improving in the areas he's needed to improve in.
They really have gotten, for those first couple of games, we sat here and talked. It's so crazy that I watched a UTSA running back, no matter how talented, run for 170.
Yeah.
He had 100 yards at halftime.
He's a very talented running back.
They held Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love to under 100 on 24 carries just a couple weeks later, and it's gotten nothing but better since. Their run defense has been stifling, and you know what they did on Saturday. What they do to the floor? They came out Saturday. You know, Ball had 107 on 20 something carries against Texas. He went 18 for 65 on Saturday. They shut him down as a team. Florida with a net 74 rushing yards. A&M outrushed them by more than 100 yards again.
Probably almost good that A&M got to watch and scout Florida have a really good game against Texas to see, okay, this is what they actually do well, because there wasn't much Florida was doing super well prior. So
no, I think you're dead on. And having that bye week, they didn't look. You saw how good Eugene Wilson looked. I mean, I say Dallas Wilson looked. Dallas Wilson.
Where'd you get Eugene from Dallas?
Their other receiver is Eugene Wilson. Yeah, the third. Dallas Wilson, right? He had a touchdown reception there early, a short touchdown, and then did a thumbs down. This is like y'all's horns down curse, right?
It's a curse. It's a curse.
You guys always talk about that. Dallas Wilson does a thumbs down. From that moment on, I think he had one catch. He finished with 3 catches for 20 yards.
Isn't it fun when that happens, when they do a mocking gesture like that?
The difference is we didn't start crying about the thumbs down. Like
nobody cries about. Do you know if there were tears for every time a horns down happened yesterday, I think all of Dallas would need to be in therapy.
It would be a flood of tears.
It would be a flood.
Yeah. Look, listen.
The horns down really doesn't hurt when you have a win on the board.
That's true. And thumbs down doesn't hurt either when you beat a team 34-17. Look, Florida took the ball a minute. They went down, scored like it was nothing. It was a nice drive of just kind of a perfect opening drive on the road if you're the Gators. And you're like, uh-oh, Lagway and this team has really figured it out. Now, the very first play from A&M was a bomb from Marcel Reed to Mario Craver. Second play was a touchdown walk-in run by Reed. And Florida tied it up and kept it close, but A&M really just the better team throughout that game. And I'm telling you, it's exciting to see Texas A&M take that Notre Dame win and then do what you're supposed to do at home, which is beat 3 unranked SEC teams coming in, but handle all kinds of different challenges. They played a red-hot Florida team. They were in a dogfight against Mississippi State and blew them out as the game went on. They played a down-to-the-wire game against Auburn that they were kind of frustrated the whole game, kind of shooting themselves in the foot. They've overcome so much. And the next thing they have to overcome, Atwell, is 3 straight road games. Fortunately, a bye.
Yes, super tough team in Arkansas. You got to go on the road, too.
Hey, listen, I'm going to call it tough. You might push back.
Hey, I'm doing the same thing you did about Texas' schedule last year. If I was sitting here overhyping Texas winning at home against Florida last year, you would not let me hear the end of it. But I'll let you continue.
Okay. I think that's a decent point on your part. It's actually dead ass accurate. But I will say
you did it last year.
I will say y'all didn't play Lagway. Y'all played as some like Ivy League walk-on at quarterback. But I digress.
Yeah, and this is why I'm glad we played Mateer, because otherwise that would have been the first. But I guess OU fans think they would have done better without Mateer at this point. It's just the whole.
You could have really. You have OU fans in like bookmark hell right now.
I have them and I could have them in so much more hell. You don't even know how much I have stored away.
Yeah, you just haven't had time yet. You were hung over from the big celebration. Too much champagne.
I was not a much this morning.
Too much La Casa and champagne. No, but
long night.
Look, I'm sitting here looking at the Aggies game Saturday, and what they did is Florida basically. I really liked this test because we talked last week, and I thought it was a real test on both lines of scrimmage. And like I said, A&M outrushed them 180-something to 70-something. And do you understand, like, in that game, so the Aggie defense gets most of the accolades this week. I think teams are now 2 for 30. Guys, help me out. Is it 2 for 34? 2 for 33 in the last 3 games on third down. It's by far the lowest percentage through 3 SEC games in the last 30 years in the conference. But here's what I like, line of scrimmage, right? 180-something to 70-something rushing. Texas A&M 3 sacks, 2 of them. Texas A&M 3 sacks, 2 forced turnovers, 6 tackles for loss. You know what a clean sheet looks like? That Florida defense, that pressure, remember that number where they pressured Arch 35 times in the game? Mm-hmm. You know how many times Florida made a play behind the A&M line of scrimmage on Saturday?
How many times?
0, not 1. Not a single tackle for loss or sack by that Florida front. So both sides of the ball controlled the line of scrimmage. And I think when you've seen Craver and Concepcion, right, and they had big plays on Saturday, you've seen Moss, and you've seen Marcel Reed, who outdueled Lagway at Kyle Field, which I think was important because so many people for years thought Lagway was coming to A&M. I think Lagway thought he was going to play at A&M. But for all that skill and excitement and stuff, Texas A&M showed on Saturday again that if you want to line up and try to slug it out with us at the line of scrimmage, we can do that too. And Atwell, like that plays on the road. That plays. So just a nice winning streak. And I want to say this.
I mean, I thought defense would travel for Florida for us, and it did not. So hopefully that is not the case for you guys.
True. Well, they've traveled once.
I will say, I was just looking at, because I was looking at Arkansas's schedule, who they played. They played Tennessee. Is Tennessee overranked?
Yes, they are. And you know why?
Because I've been looking at some of because Arkansas, almost an upset there.
Now, I'll say this.
34-31.
Arkansas's offense has done well against everyone except Notre Dame, who just put them in a locker, which is interesting because the Aggies scored 41 against Notre Dame. But if you look, Arkansas played Tennessee tough. They had a fumble late in the game where they'd beaten Ole Miss. They had Ole Miss beat. And so
hopefully this isn't the part where it starts to get weird.
It always gets weird in the SEC. I'm glad this is not a night game in Fayetteville, but
night games in Fayetteville are something.
I fully expect this one to be a tough game for A&M.
If any Arkansas fans watch this, they might crucify me, but do you know who Arkansas reminds me of right now? Texas Tech in our last couple years in the Big 12.
Oh, wow.
Of just like that kind of night games are always weird there. They're really not very good, but they can ruin somebody's year really quickly.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
They ruined Tennessee's year
Texas Tech's doing a little bit better now, but.
By the way, I think you're dead ass on, by the way, about Tennessee. They're not. I've been saying what's holding them back is their defense is not very good. It's actually bad right now. I would love to play against that defense. But to be honest, Arkansas hasn't been either. So A&M needs to go up there and take advantage this weekend. But I know I've said it's not. I think it's a tough game on the road. I would much rather.
Did you think it was a tough game for Texas last year on the road?
Yes, I did. And guess what? It was a tough game.
It was one that was won, though, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, I see. And you guys were a Final Four playoff team, and it was still tough. And Tennessee was a playoff team, and they lost.
I forgot the score of that game, 20-10. That was a kind of get in, get your win, and get out type of game.
And I think it was. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 17-10, if not 13-10. Like Arkansas had a lot of momentum. Texas needed a defensive stop there to kind of win the game. As we go on, one more thing about A&M I want to say. We talk all off season, and my question was, does A&M, you can't win big in the SEC without guys that can win you a football game, take over a game, have moments in a game or an entire game, whichever it is. And we talked about Texas having so many of those guys last year. My question was, do they have them this year on offense? I think it's still TBD. This weekend was a nice step for Texas in the right direction. I had questions. Did A&M have that outside of Le'Veon Moss?
I think A&M has that.
They do.
It'd be the most confident, I'd say. I mean, and wasn't really sure about it before the season because a lot of these players you hadn't seen, so you couldn't really say whether or not they had it, whether or not it was going to translate to in-game play. But I mean, I think A&M does. I think Texas is still trying to find their identity offensively a little bit. They're getting there, but they're reestablishing the run game. Players are getting healthy again. I think that's the biggest thing is just having that running back room so battered for the first couple of weeks was difficult. And then even the wide receivers, DeAndre Moore was out for a period of time. Emmett Mosley was out. Hadn't seen any snaps since joining Texas. But I think Texas has just been a bit slower to find their offensive identity, but it's getting there. I did think what was interesting, because I think what OU probably anticipated was Arch running the ball a lot more than he did yesterday, and they seemed to get away from that, which I wasn't mad about. I think it was smart for him to not be running all over the place and to actually try to get a real running game going with somebody other than the quarterback. But yeah, I think Texas is still working to find their offensive identity, but it's much better than a Arch that has been sacked 6 times and thrown two interceptions. I think you have to establish the protection before you can actually get your identity as far as who's going to be the playmakers. Because if you can't make a play because your quarterback's getting killed on so many different drives, then you can't really establish an identity.
And not something that I was high on Craver and Concepcion coming in the season, very high on them. But you got to see it in practice, you know, on the field, and we saw it early against Notre Dame, and even in those non-conference games. And they've been sensational. They've been spectacular. They're game changers. Marcel Reed is emerging as one. Marcel's weird in a good way. I think
he's kind of undersold as far as quarterback talents go in the country right now. Because, I mean, people were so high on, without really even seeing anything really substantial, people were super high on John Mateer.
Yeah.
And you hadn't seen anything from him that made him look like a Heisman frontrunner to you. I hadn't seen anything, but we just sound like haters because we're from teams that don't like him.
Yep. Marcel still has he has the Heisman moment, but he can be spectacular like he was in the first half against Florida, or he can be a game manager. Like he is very level. Whether, hey, okay, this is going to be a defensive struggle for a little bit. I'm going to, you know, he got a little loose with the ball there at the end, trying to throw one up to when you should have thrown it away or check down and take the field goal. But generally, Marcel's really level. And then all of a sudden, he can be spectacular for a stretch. So it's really, he's a very interesting young quarterback to me. And while a lot of guys are sinking, he continues to swim. He continues to stay kind of outside of that mainstream conversation, but still,
which is maybe good for him, because being overhyped can be, I mean, it puts a lot of pressure. I more than anything, I think I'm impressed with the mental resilience Arch has shown through all the crap that has happened the past couple of weeks, especially with that Athletic article. I don't know if you saw the post-game interview with Parker Livingston, his roommate.
No.
But he was like, yeah, I didn't see Arch on his phone once this week.
Yeah.
He just put it away. Just the mental resilience to be able to look past that kind of stuff and play your game and do what you're supposed to do. I mean, players didn't used to have to deal with this stuff to this level. You didn't have to risk opening your phone and then seeing a terrible article about yourself at the click of opening an app.
It's such a weird world we live in, too, because quarterbacks also didn't used to make $1 million a year. So it's like, it's the good, but they're also still 18 to 21, 22 years old. Yeah. That hasn't changed. So it's like, yeah.
And just be a normal person.
Yeah, you still are. Yeah, you're still a college kid.
And I feel like even you can admit, even his fiercest rivals can commit that Arch is very likable. He's unfortunately likable for you as a person.
And I would say the same about Marcel. I think both teams have quarterbacks that if you're on the other side, you have to honestly, if you watch these young men like carry themselves in the media, off the field, on the field, you have to. They are both types that you go, okay, competitive. I think though, I wanted to go back to A&M real quick before we move on. Mm-hmm. When I said playmakers, right, I expected Craver and Concepcion. Okay, mm-hmm. I expected Marcel. I said the whole offseason, I expected him to make more of a jump than people around the country were seeming to think. I thought I saw enough of him last year to tell me he should. He's got something about him, and I think people were missing it. I knew what Le'Veon Moss was. What I didn't know, Amanda, and I knew he was going to be a good player, and I knew he would be an all-conference contender. I did not know that Cassius Howell would be a legitimate midseason candidate for Southeastern Conference Defensive Player of the Year, because that's the conversation that he has put himself in. He was so dominant against Florida on Saturday. He only had 1 sack. He had 2 or 3 pressures. I think he probably should have been called for about 8 holding penalties. I mean, it was insane the amount that Florida were. They had him in like a reverse chokehold the whole game, and he was still getting to the quarterback. But I think Cassius Howell, with he had a sack, he had one pass breakup, 2 quarterback hurries. Last week he had a pass breakup that got intercepted and 3 sacks. I mean, this guy, what he's doing and what you're seeing individuals on this defense doing, Amanda, I don't think if you're an Aggie fan or someone that follows this team closely or anybody that's outside of that building, you could have envisioned the defense elevating to the level that they have so far. And they got a big test coming up this week. And then in a few weeks, they play that Missouri offense up in Columbia that looks really good. But right now, this team, they're a legitimate top 5 team in the country based on resume, based on what you see. Le'Veon Moss's health is a big deal. Okay. Yeah. If he's out for any period of time, and we'll hear more about.
What does his injury look like?
It looks like an ankle, and you I think you don't know if that's going to be 2 days or 2 weeks or a month.
Ankles are hard too, because it's like that's something that's so easy to re-trigger.
Yep.
I was a chronic ankle sprain sufferer when I played soccer, and it was just something that was so easy. Oh, it's gotten better. It's gotten better. You return too quickly, you're completely set back. I mean, a lot of injuries are like that, but I feel like ankles are pretty, especially if you're doing a lot of cutting, like a running back is doing. That's concerning.
So as I say that, keep an eye on number 23, Jamarian Morrow. I've been talking about him all offseason, true freshman, out of Memphis. Had a big touchdown catch, his first touchdown as an Aggie in the first quarter on Saturday, and had an explosive run a week earlier in the win over Mizzou. He's not getting many touches at all, and you're seeing him produce these big plays. If Moss isn't back for Arkansas or any period of time at all, 23, I think you'll start to see more and more of. And I think you would have seen them mix him in a little bit more anyway, because they're that excited about him. But we've talked a ton, 2 big wins. Why don't we dive into the SEC in general? And I want to start with, I mentioned Missouri. So somebody said to me, Amanda, yesterday, they go, Missouri looked really good, right? Like, I feel like they lost, but I feel better about them being good now than I did before. And I said, were we not saying the same thing about Vandy a week ago? You know what the common denominator is? They've both looked good in losses to Bama.
Yeah.
Bama eked by a Georgia team that eked by a Tennessee team that we've said has bad defense.
I still don't think we really know who's like great.
That's the point, right? They eked by a Georgia team that eked by a Tennessee team that eked by a Mississippi State team. And Bama got slaughtered by Florida State, and that looks worse and worse and worse by the week. But you ask anyone that covers the SEC right now, and I mean anyone, who's the best team in the SEC? Before you can finish, Alabama. I think that's bullshit.
Who do you think the best team in the SEC is right now?
It could be A&M. It could be Bama.
I was going to say, I do think it could be A&M, and that's very hard for me to say. I feel like I need to go wash out my mouth or something now.
and it is a moving target. We know that week to week, but we're sitting here today, right?
I feel like A&M just looks like the most complete. It's been the most consistent so far. They've had the most consistent performances week in and week out. Auburn was a little scary there, but otherwise, it seems like Elko's really mastered the fixing the issues he sees. Will that remain to be the case? Who knows? College football is really freaking weird. So,
and look, do I think A&M rolls through this thing undefeated? No, I don't think anyone will. I've said that all year. Do I think that I'm booking my trip to Atlanta now and canceling my Detroit trip that Thursday prior? Not yet. No.
I honestly, and I laughed at you at the beginning of the season for this, and I will call myself out on that now. I do think A&M makes a college football playoff at this point with the remaining games that they have on their schedule.
It's interesting you say that, because we've crossed like ships in the night here, because you did, and I do have that saved. We're going to have so much fun with that if they make it.
That's why I'm calling myself out on it. I was mainly laughing because the way you said it, like you were scared to say it, was funny.
And to be honest, I probably was. Like at that,
you were like, And just the way you were like uttering it, like you didn't want me to respond to you.
I was like sneaking it in. But you know why? You know why I did that? Well, the reason I did that was because I was putting them in at 9-3. So I was like, okay, this feels like a reach here because I'm going to try to shoehorn them in at 9-3.
But I can see them 10 I could see. I mean, I could see A&M. The two big ones I see on the schedule are LSU and Texas. Even
what
both of those.
What about at Mizzou?
At Mizzou could be iffy too. I mean, anything can happen. This is the SEC.
Here's the way I look at it for the Aggies. If you want, I know the magic number doesn't have to be 10, but let's say it's 10-2, and you're probably getting in. And it's especially true for an A&M team if they're 10-2 with that road win at Notre Dame. So let's say if the target is 10, right? If they can go beat Arkansas, and I do think that's an if. I do think A&M will win, but I am not just chalking that one up.
I'm confident A&M can win at Arkansas.
Yeah. So let's say they do. And I don't even want to say, I want to go down this FCS, or they play Samford. Okay.
If I was an Aggie, I would be annoyed with that game. I'm like, I don't want to watch a Samford game.
I agree. I don't. Like, I've never liked it.
Who wants to watch? It's not even that I'm dogging you for having all schools have these bad teams on their schedule. Nobody wants to watch that late in the season. Nobody wants to be watching it.
I agree. Like, to me, there's no
line up. Get knocked out with early.
line up Samford and Sam Houston on the same field right now, and it'd probably be a hell of a game. Like, there's not a difference. I mean, I know. Well,
it's just timing of the year for me that annoys me.
Exactly.
Like,
I'm going from watching A&M play, 7 straight SEC games to Samford at 11 a.m. in November to Texas.
That's
the only good thing about that is you do it's twofold, right? You can get your guys out of there by halftime, but it's also like, why are we playing this? Like, yeah, you get them out and not risk injury, but why?
Also, the thing I would be worried about that is, like, you saw how Texas,
losing your edge a little bit.
Yeah, so you kind of saw this with Texas and Florida. Texas plays an easy Sam Houston State team, goes into a bye. It really seemed like they lost their edge coming and playing at Florida. And you do that right before you have to go to Texas. That would be my other concern is, like, yes, there's the argument you can recoup a little bit if you're battered up at all. Yep. But at the same time, you want to remain on that level of intensity that you're used to with being in the heart of SEC play.
So I think Bama. Going back to that, I think Bama is a little overrated. I think right now, as we sit here today, A&M could make a strong case for being the best team in the SEC. That doesn't matter today. What matters is, like you said, can they get to 10? Can they get to Atlanta? And Arkansas, Samford, South Carolina at home. That's 9, right? If they get Arkansas this weekend, that's 9. That means you got to get one on the road, and it's can you get one in Austin, in Columbia, or in Baton Rouge? Not easy, but the way this team is playing right now, I don't know which game they would not be favored in. Very slight, I think, in all three of those.
I don't think they'd be favored in Austin just because of the whole rivalry, home field advantage aspect of it. Oklahoma wasn't favored over Texas initially, and Texas was unranked. So it's always weird.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, honestly, because I haven't looked. There are places you can look that up and see what would be the spread today, and I haven't. But you could be right on that. My point is, like,
there's a lot of time between now and then as well.
And the point is, they're no worse than a coin flip, though, in even on those road games. It just feels like they've positioned themselves nicely. They need to stay up. You know who was positioned nicely a few weeks ago? Penn State, Florida State.
Oh, yeah, this was my big question for you was some comments about Elko to Penn State.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been seeing them. Aggies have seen them all day.
I don't think there's a chance. I don't see that.
I don't either. And I want to start by saying
Are you scarred from your last head coach that left when you didn't think that they would leave?
Yeah. No, you know what's funny is I've learned to never say never in coaching, whether it's getting Jimbo from Florida State when the whole country said, no, he wouldn't leave. Everybody in Tallahassee, no. Slosh, obviously going to Texas there. Now, with that said, I think Mike Elko's got such a great situation here, and they're connecting dots.
Building something. He's like midst building.
Building something special, it feels like. And it's got to feel like that for him, right? Look, I'm going to tell you what people are going to do in the playbook. They're going to talk about he's from the Northeast. He coached at Penn. They're going to make those connections. He recruits the Northeast well. And they're going to say, they're going to also go, and A&M just lost their president. They've got an interim president. Mike Elko does care about that kind of stuff, like the stability and But at the same time, Texas A&M, even in a period of transition and even with turnover, in my opinion, way too frequent there, it is still such a job for someone like him to be at in year 2, building like he is, what he's got in the NIL war chest.
Endless resources.
Endless resources. What Trev Alberts and all the people in play and power at A&M have done in terms of the next couple of years of NIL. And not to mention, Amanda, he's got them as a top 5 team in the country. And
that's my biggest thing is maybe if you guys had lost like 1 or 2 thus far.
Yeah, if he was frustrated with
and the fan base is frustrated and not like it's not going like you hoped it would or like it should be going. But with the current trajectory, I don't see how that happens. Schloss, I could see Schloss made more sense just based on his past, his history, his connections to the university. I don't see that with Elko quite as much. But what do I know? Anything can happen.
And Slosh wanted things here that he couldn't get. And meaning, like, I think his desire for a baseball stadium would have happened. His desire for as grandiose a situation as he wanted. I had plenty of talks with him. He's wanting to move the stadium to other parts of Canada. Like, there were things. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. Texas A&M hired a athletic director that, is known for what he did in football, what he's done as a player, where he's been at a place like Nebraska and now Texas A&M. Like, I think that was in Slosh's head as well. So, not to digress into all that, but when you look at what Elko's built and you look at the fan support, the game day environment here, he has done an amazing job, whether it's the blackout and the throwbacks and the staff he's put around him.
I gotta say, I've loved the stadium.
Did you?
Last of the field, the stripes, was that it? The script with the stripes, I really liked that.
I did too. Really, I thought that was really cool. They've done it.
I liked it better than the black. I think somebody said the black started to fade and look a little funky at the end of the game.
Maybe.
I like the maroon end zone better. I don't know. You can call me a Texas traditionalist. I like the more traditional colors. I think the maroon end zone looks better.
Yeah.
But I like the script with the added stripes. I thought that looked nice.
So anyway, I think Elko's fine here. I think we're going to have to deal with the buzz and stuff. A&M's just going to have to, I think, forget about Penn State and James Franklin. The Aggies need to look at. I'm getting texts from Detroit as we do this. Gosh, I should be in Kansas City, Amanda. But as we're sitting here, I think A&M needs to look at the situation and say, Mike Elko is due to reevaluate this contract a couple years in based on what he's doing on the field and the trajectory of his program within reason versus worrying.
A Jimbo contract so early.
Versus worrying about someone else. When you make the decision, you do like, hey, this is right. We believe in this. This is going the right way. And he started off at this point versus, oh my gosh, and I think Elko understands that. And I think Mike Elko knows exactly what he's built here. And when that guy talks, he's not bullshitting. When he's talking about how grateful he is for what he's the support he's getting here. He means it. So anyway, I think, and we're not going to keep Aggie fans from worrying. Nebraska fans will feel the same way about Matt Rule. I'm not sure why, but they will. James Franklin, though, man, fired. 3 weeks ago, he was number 2 in the country.
That's
9 months ago, he was in overtime to play for a national championship.
Texas fans are down bad right now from a slow start to the season, one that was not expected. But I think you can definitely tell the difference between what looks to be just more of a transitional year for Texas at this point versus a complete fall from grace. And I think I would much rather have this slight transitional year because you had all those players go to the NFL. There's not going to be nearly that many players that go to the NFL from Texas. The team's too young. You're not going to have that many players go to the NFL this year as you did last year.
Yeah, no.
And
hey,
Texas offense is poised to be very scary next year.
Can we take a moment? I've admitted that maybe we need to make the shirts that say Amanda was right or you're right, Amanda. Can we take a moment to just say
you were right about the O-line, Billy? But I expressed concerns about the O-line as well, but your concerns were validated on the O-line front.
And just for the Texas fans watching, but remember, I picked you 10-2. It wasn't like I'm predicting 7-5 or something. It felt like
you started to try to pick 7-5 on Twitter last week after the Florida game.
I did.
Do you want to rescind that?
Well, yeah, I do want to rescind the 5.
7-5 is a little. One of the teams that played will probably end up being 7-5, but I don't think it's Texas.
And in fairness, I did say, because someone said that y'all were going to lose to OU, and I said if they do 7-5s in play. So that was what I said. So that was an if. We won't go into who I picked to win that game until a minute. But
how'd the picks come in this week?
You won.
We'll get to this.
You won, you won, and you're up 4-3 now in weeks. And as crazy, by the way,
are you happy I'm back from France and I can actually focus on this stuff now?
In fairness, you're back from France and you've gone 8-2 each of the last 2 weeks. So I think people that question you need to maybe reevaluate that a little bit. France seemed like a distraction for sure.
It was quite a distraction, and if you had my view, you would understand why it was.
I opened up a big lead. You have cut into it in just 2 weeks, but this week you only got me by 1 pick. I was 7-3. You went 8-2, and
a bad week for both of us.
Yeah, and now for the season, are you ready for this? Counting our first week where we had those, off. I think we only posted 6, and we had the rest of them. Our picks between us, I am 1 game ahead of you for the season. Weeks, you're up 4 weeks to 3. So we'll pick these here in a second. Last thing I was going to say, first of all, who's next on the coaching slaughterhouse? Norvell took a big step. I think you guys might push Mark Stoops a huge step closer. I think
if Napier, if we had beat Florida, Napier would be gone by now.
I agree. I think he'd be gone today. I think you're right. Yep. So with all that said, this coaching market is going to look insane. You are going to have Florida open. You have Penn State. Oak State is significant.
Oklahoma State is.
UCLA is in an interim situation there. That's gonna. I mean, they're looking good though. Who knows? They might rip off the interim. But UCLA, you're gonna have some. And I'm probably forgetting an obvious one here, but I'll tell you another one you keep an eye on. They lose this weekend to Missouri. Hugh Freeze. He's had some tough luck these last couple of weeks, but he is getting closer and closer. So imagine Auburn, Penn State, Florida. It's a wild amount of jobs. And we talked about one job that is not coming open, Indiana. And his name will be mentioned. It's already, like Elko, it's mentioned at Penn State. I think Matt Rule will keep being, but Kurt Cignetti, that is one of the 2 you lost this week. I actually picked Indiana to pull the big upset.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is I was with a Oregon fan this weekend as well.
Really?
It came to one of my friend's boyfriends. He did not have a good weekend.
No, that's a tough one.
We were all on cloud 9. He was not quite on cloud 9.
What I will say about these teams when this happens to them, right? Okay, first of all, I had A&M last week with the most impressive win in college football this season, which was a road victory against Notre Dame. If you go through and look at what everyone's done, that probably stood out. I think that has been supplanted. I think it's now number 2. I think the number 1 most impressive victory in college football is Indiana going up to Oregon and not only winning, but they just look like the better team.
Yeah.
This time of year is weird because we're getting into that situation where these teams from other conferences, so you can't do that with Texas, you can't do it with A&M, you can't do it with Bama or Florida or anybody. You can do it with the Big Ten. So I say, what does their resume say right now? Beat up at home by Indiana, and what's their best thing they've done?
I gotta look at their schedule.
Their best thing they've done is they won at Penn State in overtime. Northwestern just won at Penn State. UCLA beat the brakes off of Penn State. That is the best thing on the Oregon resume to date. So now that you're part of the SEC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that you're in it and you're looking at these schedules and you're looking at these future schedules and you went to the Swamp and you came to Kyle Field and you won and you had to face Georgia twice. Like, now you see what I was saying about these other leagues when you look at some of these schedules. And I would challenge you to go look at Indiana's schedule the rest of the way. Like, it's just not the same what some of these teams are facing. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. It's UCLA, Michigan State, Maryland, Wisconsin, Penn State, Purdue.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
Grant asked me this morning, he was like, is Purdue good? I was like, no. He's like, oh, Minnesota beat them. I'm like, I mean, it's the bottom of the Big Ten battle.
You should have told him Purdue was good when Drew Brees was the quarterback there. All right, let's keep it moving. We'll finish with the picks and your moving goalposts and anything else we've got.
All right.
What's your moving goalpost this week?
Oh, my moving goalpost. Sorry. My brain's in another planet right now. We're still recovering from the consumption of yesterday, but I think the moving goalpost this week is pretty obvious. It's just go to Twitter and just look at the severe level of copium that OU fans are currently drinking after this loss to Texas, and how the narrative has shifted to, oh, Mateer's playing, we got this in a bag, we're gonna kill him, to maybe we shouldn't have played Mateer, there's something obviously wrong with him, we would have won this game if Hawkins was playing. Just the constant of just, even if it was a healthy Mateer, I would love to see what the excuse was if it was a healthy Mateer, because Mateer said his own thumb was healthy. He said he had no pain.
He's fine.
He was fine.
I mean, I think for him, if he had one thing he would say is like, man, I haven't been in a football game in 3 weeks. But that's the risk
Mateer just discovered what a real defense looks like.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
He learned who Michael Taff and Anthony Hill were.
I thought Michigan was a real defense until I saw them play USC this weekend. And even then, Mateer should have thrown 3 picks. And you and I, this is funny to me, like this week, you got people stirred up on Twitter with a little debate we were having. And that had to do with
those
Arch.
are kind of the ones where I'm like, I'm just going to get out of this comment section before I get in a fight.
Well, you got it stirred up about Arch. And basically, in your mentions, I will say, like, I probably got here's the deal that people don't realize about me and you, is the amount of shit talking is probably, they see these clips and we'll handpick the funnier ones and they go, oh man, they're mean to you. You ought to see us arguing away from this. And you ought to see, here's when I know it's bad. You guys that know me know I've become more of an early bird, but I'm like a 7:30 wake up person. This one right here,
4 a.m.
Yeah, she's like, the sun is not even up yet. So if I get up and I see a text that says, like, something funny, like, good morning, or enjoy your morning, with like a little troll head, or something before I know I immediately know what it's about, and I'm like, God dang it. And that happened this week when you did that. So maybe I got a little defensive in the mentions. I tried to come back, but a lot of the Aggies did my battling for me there.
Yeah, no, I kind of just let the comment because my Longhorns will do the battling for me. Your Aggies will do it for you, and then it's just thanks for the engagement, guys. We really appreciate it. You're paying families here.
You kicked the hornet's nest there, and I think the part that you're right about is we all want to hype up our quarterbacks. My thing was the level to which they did it, and you found some good quotes from me on like Wigman. You got me with several, but one of them I will say, one of them was Haynes King, and I will say this: Haynes King is now on certain Heisman watch lists, top 10s.
Not for A&M. That's the whole point. He's not on a Heisman watch list in an A&M jersey. That's the whole point.
Well, it's a good point, but I was right. Here's the thing: I was right in my assessment of the talent level. So I will say it's not my fault that they didn't understand what. No, just never mind.
I'm going to give you your participation ribbon right now.
I'll take it. Let's cut this part off.
Thanks for playing.
This went about as well as the Twitter one did. I will take my participation trophy and we will move on to picks. But your point was, I think, be patient. This guy started X number of games. Like, probably overhyped. I think you've been the first to say.
Yeah, obviously he's overhyped. My whole point was this is not the first overhyped quarterback we have ever seen, and that was a problem with the Athletic article. Obviously, Arch has been massively overhyped on a different scale because of his last name, and like you have another Manning that's a star quarterback that pays a lot of bills at ESPN if he's really, really good. So obviously they're going to hype him up. But there have been many, many other players that have been very, very hyped and have flopped very quickly. There are other quarterbacks currently in college football that are flopping much harder than Arch right now.
Yep.
And the attention is just on him because one, of the brand name Texas, two, because of the association with the Mannings.
I think you dead on, and I think you were dead on when you brought up guys like Klubnik. Drew Aller unfortunately got injured this week, but when
I don't want to go on and trash all these other quarterbacks, but at the end of the day is I think, and from that original post, that Athletic article, Aggies agreed, Sooners agreed, everybody in the comments agreed. This is an insane thing to say. To say Manning's last name is now synonymous with failure. What? That's crazy.
You know what though? If you're really good, you go back in any great athlete of all time, you take that, you put it in a little Ziploc baggie, or you compartmentalize it and you put it away and you say, you know what? I remember that. I think that's what I liked about Marcel. He'd come in here this summer and he'd be like, yeah, I hear it. He doesn't, he didn't act like I've never heard or read anything. He heard all the criticism of him as a passer, and he saw where his name was on the list, and it doesn't bother you, but you file it away. I do think that article about Arch took it to where human nature that had to bother him. So that writer looks like the biggest jackass in
his
college
background isn't even really college football. That's the thing. It's I was like, I'm a person of I'm a journalist. I'm like, okay, where is this journalist's credentials at? And I go and look. Previous creator of Deadspin, Tracks. Yeah, all right, we can just toss this one in the trash bin. Unfortunately, he has a platform as large as the New York Times to spew his bullshit, but
Okay, finally, before we do the picks, you listen, I got to look at it now. Gonna be really good or really bad? TBD. I'm having them show your video right now as we speak. You guys, what would we call this? Because talk about engagement.
Trend.
Oh, that is?
It was a TikTok trend.
Okay.
It wasn't.
But you
we
did
weren't
it around
performing spells. We saw this sound and we're like, "Ooh, this would be really funny if we did this trend, but with It's a TikTok trend. I'm sorry. It's a younger generation thing, Billy. You might not get.
Oh, don't you start with me. I've got TikTokers all over this building. They try to get me to do the trends every day. I'm at least self-aware enough.
It was very funny in the comments of just like, oh, you think we're a cult? I'm like, we literally set up a tripod and nearly tripped jumping around in circles for fun and we weren't doing a ritual. Like, what
now,
did you think we were doing?
But
you see Peyton nearly fall over laughing at the end of it?
Yeah, but some would say that it worked. So
now if I start doing it every single week, then you can come at me with the cult conversations.
I think if you do it again,
a fun TikTok.
Yeah, I think if you do it again, you reverse it. You just need to leave it be and hope that momentum carries on. People that were watching just saw it, and it was fun. Like anybody that took that seriously is they shouldn't forget about TikTok.
There's some grass outside. You should just go touch that.
They shouldn't be on social media.
This wasn't a hex rally. It was just us being drunk in my kitchen and deciding to jump around arch jersey and candles.
Someone might have done one of those with something to do with A&M football recently that we don't know about, because it certainly feels like the fortunes have been trending the other way lately for the Aggies. Let's talk about A&M and Texas this week, and let's start with those because they're both favored. I think double digit. I haven't seen the A&M one today. A&M at 8.5, Amanda. Texas, I believe, right now as we sit here today, 12.5. So why don't we pick these, or at least do the Texas one? Do you want to do the A&M one with the points too, or pick it straight up?
Up to you. I'm good with whatever.
Let's do both with the points this week. A&M 8.5, Texas 12.5. We'll start with the Aggies. I do this too much, I know, and people get mad at me. I'm not hedging. I absolutely think A&M is going to win the game. I think it's going to be a tough football game, and I think Arkansas covers. A&M wins by like a touchdown on the road. And you talked about that Texas game last year. You guys pushed it out over a touchdown there at the very end to win like 20-10 or 23-13, whatever it was.
Yeah,
I could see it being similar, but just with more points. But just where it's just A&M more outlasting Arkansas. I don't think this will look like the beatdown that they put on Notre Dame.
I think A&M wins by more than 8.5.
Okay. These are the ones that really get people's attention when I'm not picking them. That tells you where like what you call an emotional pick, right? I'm on the emotional side of it. You're just looking at it as I see what Arkansas is doing.
You need to pick against Texas again because that went really well for us.
Yeah, I'm trying to hold on to this lead, Amanda, because what I don't want is at the end of the year when we've picked like 100-something games is that you've won it. I don't care if it's by one pick or I'm winning this thing. I'm actually plus I'm the one picking the game, so I've got a definitive head start over you when we do this every week. So Texas 12.5 at Kentucky. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm certainly not picking Kentucky and Mark Stoops to win this thing. I do think there's a bit of a Red River letdown. I'm going to pick Kentucky to cover at home against the Longhorns, 12.5.
I'm doing the same. I can't put enough stock in our offense quite yet.
I think Texas by like 10. I think Texas by 10. All right, well, moving forward on these, here's the big one of the week. I think the biggest one, the biggest game in college football this week, bar none, because I think it's going to really affect the playoff picture. Whoever loses, if it's a one-loss USC team or if it's a two-loss Notre Dame team, I think the loser is out. I think the loser of that game, certainly Notre Dame with a third loss, and I think even USC, if they drop another one, they're going to be out of there. So as we go into that, USC already lost to Illinois. USC at Notre Dame, Amanda. Trojans going on the road. I think that's a tough one for me to pick with the way USC looked against this week against Michigan. They just ran them off the field.
Yeah.
Who do you have in South Bend?
I think I'm going to go USC.
Are you? Wow, you're going a little mild upset. Okay. I'm gonna go Notre Dame on that one for sure.
Notre Dame is better for you if they win.
That too, but I just think Notre Dame at home, and again, I saw how Illinois fared against USC, and I've watched Illinois get their asses kicked by both Indiana and Ohio State. The two best teams in the SEC. I mean, in the Big Ten, but Illinois wasn't competitive. And yet they beat USC. So I'm going Notre Dame.
Now I'm looking at this USC Michigan score. I'm really confused as to why OU is still ranked so high.
And it was every bit that score. I mean, it was a beatdown.
I think OU will continue to become exposed throughout the season, but there is no reason for them to be a top 20 team right now. I'm sorry.
I agree, because you guys got dropped all the way out. Now, it was your second loss versus OU's first, but one of those is a one touchdown game at the Horseshoe.
One of them is one of the losses. I hate trying to make losses sound like a win. One of them was against the number one team in the country currently.
Yeah. So speaking of OU, Oklahoma at South Carolina, the Gamecocks lost in Baton Rouge. Their offense is struggling. OU's coming in. Who do you have in that one? OU going on the road.
I'm going to let you pick that one first. I'm
gonna pick the Gamecocks. I think in an upset at home.
I think I'm picking them too.
I think OU's like a touchdown, 6.5 point favorite there.
Gamecocks are due a good win. I feel like they're kind of.
They beat Oklahoma's ass last year. I worry about Sellers getting sacked a bunch in this one, though.
And the Gamecocks are my third favorite SEC team. So
okay, we're both.
I feel like I have to pick them over the rival.
Okay, moving forward, Ole Miss at Georgia, another big SEC game. Ole Miss it's a weird one. They barely beat Washington State at home this weekend. That raised some red flags, but Georgia also barely beat.
I didn't get to watch the Georgia game. What was the big drama with the Georgia game and Kirby?
Well, there was a timeout thing where Kirby called a timeout, and then they were saying he was saying he didn't, but he was saying no. I'm saying they were clapping. I wasn't saying I was clapping.
Does he realize he's on camera?
But I actually kind of believe that, because I think he was saying they're clapping like they're trying to make us jump. Maybe, but Auburn fumbled the ball on the 1 yard line. Jackson Arnold. They would have gone up 17-0 in that game. Instead, they fumbled. It's 10. Auburn ended up winning. Georgia ended up winning. I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go upset here. And I don't like the way Ole Miss has looked in a couple games lately, particularly this weekend. But I'm going to go. Let's a Lane Kiffin upset in Athens, which feels weird to say.
I'm going Georgia.
You're sticking with the home team?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the home team.
All right.
I think Georgia's due an upset in Athens. I just don't think it's going to happen quite yet.
Oh.
If you know what I mean.
I do. I know exactly what you mean. All right, let's keep it moving. This one's a little random one here. Washington at Michigan. Washington 5-1. Michigan, now with 2 losses at home in the Big House. Can UW minus Kalen DeBoer go in there and get a win?
I'm going Michigan rebound at home.
I like that Washington team. I think they're good. I don't trust Michigan's offense right now.
I can't say I trust Michigan at all, but we're gonna.
I'll go with the Huskies there, and I believe that. I feel that one. Okay, here's one: Baylor at TCU. Old SWC rivalry, now a Big 12 rivalry. I think you flip a coin here, but Baylor at TCU.
Yeah, I'm going TCU.
I'm going Baylor. I think TCU looked. They looked. I'm going Baylor. TCU did bad showing against K-State.
They lost to Kansas State?
Yeah. Who Baylor beat on a blocked field goal at the end. So all pretty. I'm going to go Baylor, though, on the road. I still like Sawyer Robertson. SMU, good old ACC Classic. SMU going on the road to play Clemson.
SMU Clemson. Let me see. Sorry, I'm looking up these records so I can make some of it an educated guess. SMU on the Clemson. Is Clemson rebounded at all from?
Yeah, a little bit.
Kind of stopped focusing on them as much.
I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to go Clemson at home. I'll take the Tigers at home. At SMU, I think their year was last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do Clemson as well.
Okay.
Pick this. Oh yeah, UNC game.
Pick this one. Tennessee at Bama.
Oh, this is Bama all the way. Bama.
I'm with you.
100%. I think Tennessee is frauds. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think that I think Ty Simpson carves up that Tennessee secondary.
Was the FSU game a fluke? It could have just been a first of the season. I think I don't think Bama's as bad as that FSU loss.
No, I don't either. But I also think FSU's really bad. Okay, so our last two here. We've got Tennessee, Bama, and now we've got, okay, here's an interesting, it's actually our last one. Missouri at Auburn. Mizzou
if Auburn loses this, I think he's cooked.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to go Auburn.
Are you really?
I think Auburn has been in so many tight little games that they could have won.
They're actually favored.
It feels like the time where they're going to win one that buys Hugh Freeze a little more time, even if he ends up getting fired anyways.
I'm going to go.
I thought you didn't like Mizzou. I thought you thought Mizzou was overrated.
You know what? I'm actually going to. I'm going to go with Missouri, though. I do think they're. I don't think they're overrated at home. I do think they have enjoyed the most wildly beneficial schedule that you're going to see, playing everyone at home. And this was they're 0-1 against quality football teams this year. Okay,
yeah.
And they lost.
They have a crazy easy schedule,
and they lost at home. But they did fly around. They got after it. If they bring that defense to Auburn, it's not going to be competitive. So
I'm looking at their schedule. How many let's see. Oh, I'm looking at Mizzou's. I meant to look at Auburn's.
I'm definitely going with definitely going with Missouri there. I'm shocked. I have to go back and check. I'm shocked the spread currently has Auburn, the opening spread, as a favorite. All right, and then finally one that we forgot. This one's really interesting. LSU as a road underdog at Vanderbilt and Diego.
I know who you're picking in this one.
I'm actually going to pick the mild upset and go with LSU.
Are you?
Yeah.
Your least favorite team on the planet. You're picking them to win.
I'm going against. I'm going to be honest with you right now. If this wasn't a pick 'em and you made me bet money, I wouldn't feel that good about it. But I'm just feeling something's going to make the wheels fall off this Vandy train, and if they lose 2 in a row, that'll do it.
You know who I'm picking in this one, right?
Yeah, you always pick LSU to your own detriment, so I like that. In fact,
did you know I used to have an LSU jersey?
Yeah, I think maybe last year when we played them and I posted
my LSU from college. I mean, I very well could have ended up at LSU because I really liked LSU after my first year of college, going to school in Louisiana.
There's a lot to like about LSU at that age, right? There's a lot to like when you're coming out of high school.
Being in Louisiana when you're 18 years old is a time.
Absolutely.
The alcohol laws are different there. They were the last, I think they were the last state to change their alcohol age from 18 to 21. When my parents were in college in Louisiana, because they both went to Centenary, my first school as well. The drinking age was still 18 when they were in college.
Oh, I remember that was when I was in college too.
It's just a different, and the entire state pretty much loves LSU. You got a little blip in Monroe for Louisiana Tech, but the entire state pretty much loves LSU when you're talking about football.
Well, they're going to love them.
It's just a different energy.
They're going to love them a lot less on Saturday night because I'm changing my pick. It's Vandy and Diego Pavia. I am going to take advantage of your emotional pick there of LSU.
Oh no, I think LSU is a good football team. I think you're undercutting them a little bit there, but that's okay. You're still on the Nuss hate train, so
I'm on the and I'm on the Nuss injured train, and I also think that LSU has fallen back into being one of these teams that they're much better at home. They're a tough to beat team at home. I don't think they are on the road, and I think we'll start to realize.
You know what game I would go to?
What?
LSU A&M in Death Valley.
Yeah, that would be.
I would put on some purple.
I've been there, done it, and I've watched A&M lose a bunch of games, but I've seen them win back when I was in college.
I was honestly very disappointed when the LSU Texas game where we were supposed to go to Death Valley was canceled because of COVID.
Yeah.
Also, I have so many friends that went to LSU. We were going to go to that game together. And I mean, who knows? I may have had different opinions leaving LSU after that game if I had gone there and they had been mean to me. But I've yet to see a game. I've been to Death Valley. I haven't seen a game there. I've seen Mike the Tiger in his little habitat.
Yeah.
I love Mike the Tiger.
You've got to get to a game there before Texas goes and plays there. So
I mean, that'll probably be the next time I'm there. I think I'm busy on the 25th of October this year, unfortunately. So won't be.
Yeah, I've got an interesting got a wedding conflict on that one. It's a tough. It's my cutoff is pretty high for that kind of thing. So it's
I was about to say if it's a big wedding, if you're going to miss LSU A&M,
it's a tough decision. It is a Sunday afternoon wedding, so I think there is a world where I can pull both off. It's just going to have to take getting to New Orleans and hopping a United to Chicago.
Trusting some airlines to not delay.
I know. All right, well, Amanda, good week for the Aggies. Good week for the Longhorns. I think both teams are in a position they got to go handle business this weekend, and we will recap and talk about it all next week. We didn't even fight this week. What are people going to do?
What happens when what are you going to clip for the show? I don't think anybody's going to like this episode. There wasn't enough back and forth.
There's enough to piss off other fan bases, but yeah, this was like I don't know that I even like this.
It's not fun when we're both happy. I guess
that's true. We're not. I mean, who are they going to complain about this week? They can't complain about you.
I bet you they will find a way to complain about me. I probably interrupted you one times.
Somebody came
their feelings somehow.
Somebody came up to me. There was multiple people came up to me about that Friday Twitter exchange when I was out with friends Friday night. Like college age guys coming up, adults are coming up, and they're like, hey, like it was a wide variety of people that asked me about either that Twitter exchange or the podcast. And one person said, one guy came up and he's like, man, you got to stop letting her stuff you in a locker like that. And I go, are you the guy that tweeted that earlier today? Because he's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, so that's just your verbiage. You think that I'm getting lockered every. I go, like I tell your fans too, just let it play out. Let me have I'm building momentum here. This was like a draw this week. We're both happy. I'm not taking L's from you like I was this summer. Even you have to admit that.
Well, I mean, summer was a difficult time to start the show, and it was kind of
we talked about it.
It was bound to be one-sided in the summer based on how the seasons went last year. That's just how it was going to be. If we had started the show beginning of the season this year, maybe Aggies would like it a lot more.
Yep.
But it was just the timing. I mean, if we started the show at the beginning of the year last year, there might not be any Aggies listening to the show at this point.
No doubt about it. And look,
it's a much more even. A&M has the upper hand right now, so you're better off.
The other quote that you. I
also don't like that I'm not like just completely. I'll give credit where it's due when it comes to A&M being a good football team. I'm not going to sit here and just they're playing well. What am I going to say? I'm blind. I don't see it.
It throws the haters off a little bit. I think some of them are starting. Some of them are starting to warm up to you and go, you know what? Okay.
She likes Casey Concepcion. Yeah, he's a great football player. I wish he was on my team.
I think they'll start to understand that like 50% of your smack talk is aimed actually at me and not at A&M, or it's what I've said about A&M or Texas that has been wrong, and not actually.
Not the Aggies.
Yeah, exactly. And then my favorite quote of the night is one of these people comes up, and he walks up and he got this mustache, and So he listens, so he's listening right now. He knows I'm talking about him. And he says, man, I really like y'all's show. I like hearing you and Amanda go at it, but man, she interrupts you. And I go, well, if you ask her, it has to do with me just going on, and she's just hitting the cutoff button. I also do think some of it is the lag that we deal with, but you interrupt me in person too.
You can only do so much when it's a video show. Two, you do have a tendency. I, a person who have worked in television where I have been on a timer, know that like
I got no timer.
You have so much time to make your point before the audience is just like, I don't care anymore, move on. I'm doing you a favor and cutting you off on a lot of these things. Like, hey, you've made your point. You're making your point 10 times too long now. You got to put a stop to it and continue the conversation.
We are putting a stop to it because I got to go get my prize picks in. Sunday Night Football. I know you will never let me live down the fact that I'm not there right now. For those that don't know, I was driving to the airport this morning at 7 a.m. to go watch the Chiefs and Lions, and just would have been a really fun time with friends.
Could have gotten me an autograph, and I don't think I'll forgive you for it.
I just, I wanted to be there and see Dan and the Lions. She's Amanda, I'm Billy.
And this is Moving Goalposts.